So then your first question. So your first question was, in making the transition, would you recommend ever using synthetic fertilizers, 10-10-10, or are you going to shoot yourself in the foot? I and the BFA are not organic. We're not an organic organization. Organic's great, but it's not our focus. There's no reason you can't grow good food in an organic system. But there's also no specific reason that you must be organic at all times. Obviously, using pesticides, synthetic pesticides and herbicides and things like that that is something you can't really recover from easily. You're basically it's a band-aid to allow yourself to get a crop, and but it will always have a detrimental effect, and you'll have to then recover from that. If you have to do it to get a crop, I mean, when I talk to my conventional clients, I have conventional clients, and they still use Roundup and they still use their fungicides and everything else. But I get them to put things like put humic acid in their fungicide or their Roundup, so they can use less of the Roundup and still have the same result. Things like that. You try to move them in the right direction. So with that, starting from there, a little bit of 10-10-10 in your garden is not going to hurt you. Ask yourself though why you need the 10-10-10, or if you need the 10-10-10. Because if you do need it, then there's a reason that your soil's not giving you those minerals, and start working on them. But when you're making the transition, you're starting at a low base. Sometimes you can't just flip a switch and stop using it. You might need to use less of it for a couple of years and sort of wean yourself off of it. Just keep in mind though that when you add 10-10-10, if you're buying conventional fertilizer, 95% of the third number, the potassium, 95% of it's going to be potassium chloride. So you're adding chlorine, it dissociates, it forms chlorine ions, and it kills stuff. It's like chlorine bleach. So there's your first issue. The second number is phosphorus. So, and probably 80% of the phosphorus fertilizers in synthetic use are going to be triple superphosphate. And triple superphosphate is available for approximately 3 seconds when you add it to the soil. Because it's so reactive, it'll bind to the first calcium ion it finds. And then you've created apatite rock, which is a super strongly bound calcium phosphate mineral. And so you're basically throwing away your investment in phosphorus. Not 100% of it, but I believe the research suggests it's 98.5% of it is literally tied up. And then the nitrogen. So the nitrogen is going to be urea, or it's going to be coated ammonium nitrate. It's going to be there's a bunch of it could be. None of them are particularly bad, except for anhydrous ammonia, which you won't get in fertilizer bags anyway, because that's the stuff they inject into soil because it is so volatile that it's the only way to get it in there. That stuff's super bad, but no one around here uses it. But the issue with adding synthetic nitrogen, though, is that it shuts off the natural nitrogen processes. So there are bacteria and fungi and plants and in symbiotic relationships with microbes that put nitrogen in the soil from the air, and most of them slow down that process in the presence of high levels of nitrogen. So when you put nitrogen on the top with a synthetic nitrogen, they're like, oh, there's plenty of nitrogen, I'm going to take a break and sit here and drink a beer. So they'll stop making nitrogen for it. So basically there's a certain point where you can add some nitrogen and you haven't overwhelmed that system, and you'll end up with more. But if you keep going up that, you keep adding more and more nitrogen, you're eventually going to shut off that system, and then you're going to have a crop system that's reliant upon the synthetic nitrogen.